inside the Main Street Pub here in Allendale. Steve Lloyd-Jones with you. Grand Valley into the Elite Eight, having a big win over Texas A&M Commerce 55-32 on Saturday. And it is once again Ferris Week. Grand Valley into the Elite Eight. They'll take on the Ferris State Bulldogs this Saturday at 1. Going to talk all about it with head coach Matt Mitchell and offensive coordinator Tim Morrison. That's coming up as the GVSU Football Weekly Report with head coach Matt Mitchell gets started right here on the Grand Valley Sports Network. We'll be right back.
We were born here. We grew up here. Raised our kids here. Went to school here. We live here. We are the home team.
And we're back live inside the Main Street Pub here in Allendale. Steve Lloyd-Jones back with you, along with head coach Matt Mitchell. The GVSU Football Drive to the Championship, presented by Evolve Student Living. Evolve with us. The Lakers into the national quarterfinals, the Elite Eight for them against Ferris State this Saturday at 1. But we welcome in head coach Matt Mitchell now to talk about the big win this past Saturday. Mitch, congratulations on the victory. 55-32 the final score. You guys came out of the bye week, which you didn't have a bye last year in your playoff run, but you came out, looked very focused, very sharp, excellent performance.
Yeah, I think. And here we go, mic check, got me back. Here we go. I think it was great for us to have that bye week. It's something we hadn't experienced for a while, and it's kind of great to be back at home too, Steve. Been 4 weeks, been a month since we've been back at home at Grand Valley, and just came out there and had a really good performance. By all of our guys, offense, defense, special teams. A few plays we'd like to have back, but I think we really attacked that game. I think you kind of talk about the second season being the playoffs, and our guys were hungry. They're hungry to play, and it was kind of it was good for us too, and it was enjoyable to have some new competition and kind of see someone that we hadn't played in a while and kind of test ourselves against a really good league down in Texas. Yeah,
one of the better defenses certainly within their conference, the Lone Star, and just really impressive numbers. We'll get into more of this with offensive coordinator Tim Morrison a little later, but 598 total yards. You guys run the ball for 287, throw for 311. And I know a stat that's very near and dear to you, converting 8 of 14 on third down.
Yeah, I think our offense played well. They came in and we're going to run a little bit of different coverages than we would typically see within the GLIAC, so it was a little bit of an adjustment for us on the offensive side of the ball. Both players and coaches are playing their safeties a little bit deeper than maybe we typically see within our league. Consequently, we had to be able to run the ball. And by running the ball between the tackles, a little bit more with their defensive front, and then also, we had to throw the ball over the middle a little bit more, not something we typically do. And so that brought into play, obviously Marty's a big part of our team in terms of the rushing attack. I thought Terrell Dorsey ran the ball extremely well. And then Bart, besides one throw, I thought Bart had a great afternoon coming off the bye and hit a variety of guys. But you saw the Nick Dodsons across the middle, the Brandon Bean, obviously with the big ESPN highlight, a lot of throws that occurred more over the middle of the field, and that was kind of what they were giving us. And it was good to see that we faced somebody new. We saw tape that we could make the adjustments we need to make both in the preparation throughout the course of the weekend and the game. And I think we were really effective down in the red zone too. We had to settle for one field goal in the opening drive. Other than that, we were extremely effective in the red zone. We did a good job on third down. We needed some of those third down conversions, specifically in the third quarter. We were backed up. We needed to kind of swing the field a little bit that way. And, another game where we didn't fumble the football, and that's really critical. We obviously want the one pick six back, but other than that, we had a really effective day taking care of the football, which is really critical at this time of year.
Yeah, that was a great point. You're bringing out how you attack the middle of the field. Saw it in the pass and in your running game. You guys did a great job with that. I'm not sure they were used to seeing a quarterback with the accuracy Bart had in the arm to get it down the field. And Brandon Bean, who led you with 6 catches, he made a number of those tough grabs over the middle where he got contact.
That's his sweet spot. I think take a look at Matt Williams and Erston Smith. They could do a little bit more damage on the outside. I think Dotson can do damage anywhere on the football field. But Brandon Bean is really good at stuff across the middle. He's really comfortable with those type of balls. He's really comfortable with balls that are coming at him as opposed to having balls that he has to run under. So he's really comfortable with balls that are right at him, and he's a big physical kid. So he doesn't care about running over the middle. I think he has a lot of confidence when he's catch the ball that he's big and physical, and people are not going to hit him and displace him. And I think you saw that on a couple of those catches. He just was fearless running across the middle. So that's a lot of the damage he does is kind of between the hashes is where he is best, does a lot of his work, and so consequently that's what they were giving us, and the game plan dictated. And I was glad to see we were able to execute with him across the middle, as you mentioned.
Matt Williams back in this game, couple of grabs, 39 yards, impressive TD that he had. Talk about him coming back, what it meant for you guys offensively, and assess his play.
Obviously he was coming off an injury at Saginaw Valley, didn't play at Wayne State, had the bye week. I think if we had not had the bye week, I don't think he could have played, but he practiced and played. And maybe not quite 100%, but he played extremely well. And had the big touchdown grab. I think we were all kind of looking for a pass interference call, which was thrown on that deal. And then he's got the ball, great touchdown, awesome. We get 7 points out of this, but. I thought he played well. He's getting back in the flow of things. It's tough when you're a wide receiver and you have a lower body injury, whether it's an ankle or a knee. It's really hard to play on those type of injuries when you're not 100%. You can probably, if you're an offensive lineman or maybe a defensive lineman, you can kind of gut through not being 100% on a lower body injury. When you're a skill guy and part of your repertoire is running full speed and cutting full speed, it's very difficult to do that when you're not at 100%. So I don't know if he was quite at his level of explosion that he's used to, but he was really close. And I think just another week here just got him that much closer to being 100% this weekend.
Marty, another special day, 33 runs, 217 yards. Carter picks up a TD, averages over 6.5 per carry. So we know all about him, but neat to see that he's a Harlan Hill finalist. Yeah,
great credit. And take a look at the Harlan Hill finalists. They're all seniors and one sophomore, and our sophomore, Martavius Carter, is a finalist. Been a while since we've had one. I think Brad Ichek was a finalist for that award, but he's well deserving of it. He leads the nation in rushing right now. And, the coaches from Texas A&M Commerce who play in a good league were the first to admit in the post-game press conference he's one of the most impressive players they've seen in person. So we'll see how the voting goes. The Harlan Hill is typically a stat-driven award. Yeah. It's not something that's really maybe best based on the best player. So we'll see how the things kind of shake out as it progresses. But we're very honored. I think he is honored that he is a finalist for that award. It's been a while, and I also think that's a credit to our entire football team. I think offensive line, tight ends, our passing game, I've mentioned this before, we should take his nomination as a finalist as a really credit for our entire offensive unit and what they've been able to do. And he would tell you that, and we would also agree with him. That's kind of a team award, that the fact that he's mentioned as a finalist for the Harlan Hill.
Mitch, to the defense now. Garrett Pugnier leads you with 10 tackles, interception. He played very well. Trey Walton, 6 as well, 6 tackles, that is. And Dante Carey had a pick. Yeah, they got a lot of guys playing really well. 6 of the points, the defense wasn't even on the field. But what did you feel like, how did you feel like your defense played?
Well, a little bit similar to the offense, Steve. I think, first of all, if you take away about 5 plays, we felt like we played really well. We gave up 2 explosive runs. I think part of that was their tailback was coming off injury. He was good. He was a good player. And so we misjudged on some of his cutbacks. We misjudged some of our angles, and we over-pursued, and he cut back across our face and got some runs on 2 of their touchdowns that they had to actually get down in there. They were both based on explosive runs. And in both of those situations, we got him to a 3rd down inside the 10-yard line. We couldn't get off the field. So if you take away the 2 explosive runs, and then we gave up the big 75-yard touchdown pass. We ran cover 0. We got very aggressive. We blitzed. A little late on the pressure. We didn't hit the quarterback, and their wideout made it. It was a good catch and throw.
Good throw.
From Marquez Goldman, and it was a touchdown. You had to tip your hat to him. We tried to get after the quarterback. He made a play. And, so you take away a couple explosive runs, get off the field a couple times on 3rd down, and take away that big touchdown pass. We played really well. We only gave up 7 points in the second half. I think we did a great job defending their screen game. If I had to say one thing that was really critical was they were throwing the kitchen sink at us in regards to screen. I've never seen in my career that variety of screens, and we really handled that extremely well. And besides one long pass, which was kind of on air, the rest of the stuff they had to do was very contested points. Like you said, 7 of that is not on our defense. And they had some skill players. They had some good athletes, big offensive line, good quarterback. I mean, that was a talented offense. So, I don't get wrapped up, too much and maybe taking a look at the final score and you take a look at that 30. I mean, it's playoff football. They've got some skill kids too. And like you said, 7 that was on the offense. We felt pretty good about our performance. Enough plays in there, Steve, to keep us humble. I think our offense would feel the same way too. Enough plays in there to keep us humble and keep us working and keep us focused.
Yeah, very impressive stats wherever you look. What offense, defense, special teams, what was the toughest part of going against them this week?
I would say actually the special teams that you bring it up, they're really they press you and did a lot, stressed us a lot in the special teams. They ran 2 fake punts on us. Everybody probably knows the one we stopped, but there was another one where they had a guy in the flat and it was a kick pass option. We defended it well and they had to end up kicking it. And then they had showed a lot of surprise on sides. I think our kickoff return team did a good job showing enough surfaces to kind of defend that. And then their punt returner was leading the nation in punt returns. And again, our offense kind of helped our special teams out a little bit by not punting a lot, but we did a good job mixing up the types of kicks, the type of protection that we never really got the returners, cut loose. They had 2 really good returners. Their punt returner was leading the nation, and their kick returner was the all-conference and the Lone Star. We kind of bottled both those skill kids up. And so I felt good about our special teams performance, getting those stops and doing those things. It was good to have Matt Williams back on as a punt returner. He had the 31-yard punt return, which really set up great field position for offense on a scoring drive.
Well, coming up after the break, we're going to talk with your offensive coordinator, Tim Morrison, again. And, boy, again, the stats very impressive. What are some things you're really looking at on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, I think the biggest difference, 15 to 16, there's been a combination of factors. I think Bart is still Bart. His numbers are maybe not as eye-popping as last year, but we've really gotten better running the ball. And obviously Martavis Carter is a big part of that. He's a very explosive back, but we've continued to get better at the O-line and tight end positions. I think our 2 tight ends are playing extremely well with Pete Sender and Nick Kaiser. And, our offensive line has grown up, and it's kind of exciting when you take a look at those guys inside. I've mentioned this on the show before. We only have 1 senior and Aaron Cox inside, so it's a group that's grown and developed. And knock on wood, I'm on a wood table, knock on wood, we've been relatively injury-free up front, and it's been a while in my career since we've been relatively free injury-wise up front.
That's right. That O-line really coming together nicely. Well, the Lakers winning 55-32 on Saturday. They're 12-0. And Grand Valley taking on Ferris this week, 1 o'clock at Lubbers Stadium in the Elite Eight here, national tournament. Into a break right now. This past segment brought to you by Cardinal Buses. Go in comfort, go in style, and go green. Go with Cardinal Buses. We'll be right back. Talk with offensive coordinator Tim Morrison up next on the GVSU Football Weekly Report with Matt Mitchell on the Grand Valley Sports Network.
We were born here. We grew up here. Raised our kids here. Went to school here. We live here. We are the home team.
Welcome back to the program, everybody, inside the Main Street Pub here in Allendale. Very active, loud audience tonight. Lakers with a 12-0 record, defeating Texas A&M Commerce on Saturday at home, 55-32. Steve Lloyd-Jones back with you as we continue with the show. And joining me now, offensive coordinator Tim Morrison. Tim, great to have you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
I mean, these numbers, if this was a test in school, I mean, this would be an A+ here, what you guys did not only on Saturday but really throughout the year. Was there anything Saturday offensively you weren't happy about? I mean, it sure looks mighty impressive.
Yeah, it was fun watching our kids come out and compete the way they did. Obviously we'd like to have the first drive back. We get down in there with a big run and have to settle for a field goal. We really had the momentum going. You'd like to have that one back. There's a series there. To start the game. If you punch the thing in, get 7, and not get the field goal, well, you feel good about it. Obviously, if we can get the guy down on the pick six, you'd like to get that as well. But again, I'm very pleased with the guys coming out, competing, and after the bye week, it was fun to see them get after it.
Take me inside the game plan for this, because Commerce was number 1 in the country in turnover margin. They were especially good at interceptions, 22 on the year, 15 different guys had picks. And you could see they kind of sat back and were looking for opportunities. You guys did a great job dissecting them through the middle, but how did you try to attack them? What did you have to be leery of with their abilities to intercept the ball, and how did you go after that defense?
Sure. Well, I think the main difference from watching them on film, maybe than us and our offense, is when they do sit back. So you get a lot of teams that were throwing the ball underneath and trying to, advance, catch and advance, which isn't really what we do. We're more of a down the field vertical pass team. So a lot of those picks, they're just overthrowing underneath receivers. The ball gets tipped up in the air. So really it's a focus for us to continue to stretch the field vertically, which we've been able to do very well this year. And that's part of the way we're trying to attack them, is get down the field, get behind those guys. They weren't really used to seeing that before.
No, that's, again, another team. I saw it with Pueblo last year. These guys aren't used to a quarterback with the arm that Bart has, and he can really challenge him down the field. Erston Smith, again, over 20 yards a catch. He was big plays throughout. Dodson, 3 grabs for 60 yards and a score. Matt Williams, couple catches. He had a TD. The wide receiving core, when you have the balance you had with Marty on the ground and these guys catching the football, it was almost like whatever you want to take, right?
Sure. Yeah, I think Coach Mitchell really alluded to it earlier with us offensively. We're able to really stress teams both in the pass game and the run game right now, which last year, unfortunately, we weren't able to do as much in the run game. So it's been a really good mix of our skill kids, able to run the ball, throw the ball effectively, and really helps us put together game plans that you really can't take one away. If you do, we can attack the other, and really trying to win games, whatever the defense dictates to us, win the games that way.
Is it a lot different playing an opponent you haven't ever played or haven't played for a long, long time, as opposed to a team like this week, which is Ferris? When you're putting together a game plan, how different is that when you haven't seen a team before?
Sure. Well, certainly there was some different challenges in terms of the coverage and the style of defense they played, last week that was new. And a little bit fun for both of us as staff and our kids, figuring out some new different, wrinkles to our, we want to do the things that we do and we're successful at, but at the same time, the defense required us to do some different things. I think the fun thing when you play someone out of conference like that in the playoffs is you don't really know how good that opponent is. You watch the film and you think and evaluating kids, but it's fun once you get out there actually on the game day and play, and just kind of see how your kids stack up to opponents that you don't see on a weekly basis or even a yearly basis, really.
Talk with offensive coordinator Tim Morrison on the GVSU Football Weekly Report tonight. Matt Mitchell's alluded to it. I certainly see it too. Bart's playing very well, but sometimes I think those who are watching it, they see a game at Saginaw, or they see a pick six Saturday, and they kind of give us more of the professional, in-depth look at that. What is he doing very, very well? Why is his play so exceptional?
Sure. I think the one thing that Bart is doing really well right now is really perfecting his craft and being a leader for our offense. Last year as a first-year starter, we didn't really ask him to do much, as a leader. He had enough on his plate trying to figure out how to play quarterback, and so he's really progressed in the leadership side of things, which really at the end of the day allows him to play better. And really when you watch him as a leader of our offense, it's really how he competes on a daily basis. He goes out there, and you go back even to the Saginaw game, throws some interceptions, but also makes some really big plays and help us win that game. Mm-hmm. You roll out there last Saturday, we go down the field, he throws the pick six. He's a competitor. He doesn't blink. You roll back there, the very next series, we drive down and score. That leadership and his competitive edge in terms of how he approaches every single play, that rubs off on our offense. That makes everybody around him better. You talk about being a great teammate, being a great competitor, bringing the level of play of everyone around you. That's something that makes Bart really special, beyond just the stats of throwing the ball and running the offense. I think it's those intangibles that guys want to play good and play well for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the big arm shows up, but his heady play at times. You and I were talking off air, knowing when to take a sack.
Sure.
And I think a lot of times that's missed maybe by fans or whatnot who are watching a game, but that's really important because you can make a whole lot bigger mistake.
Yeah, you're exactly right. He doesn't right now, he doesn't have to stress or strained to make a play every time. We put him in some situations last year because of our inability to run the football where the game was really on his shoulders on a weekly basis. He had to make some plays and really maybe do some things out of the ordinary. And for us this year, we're able to be balanced, and he's able to just sit back and a little bit let the game come to him, and it's really paid off for us in terms of having say what you want, more of a complete offense. It allows him to be a playmaker and not have to try to reach and make plays that maybe aren't there.
Before I let you go, I got to ask you, not that I would ask specifics, but how much of the playbook is we haven't seen yet going into a game like this?
Well, we're deep into the playoffs at this point, but there might be a few things still hanging out there that we're hanging in there with, maybe.
All right, well, that's fun. Great talking with you, Tim. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Offensive coordinator Tim Morrison with us tonight. When we come back, we're going to break down Ferris State. They are red hot, and they're coming here to Allendale. 1 o'clock the kickoff on Saturday. It's the national quarterfinal. The opponent breakdown segment straight ahead on the GVSU Football Weekly Report here on the Grand Valley Sports Network. We'll be right back.
We were born here. We grew up here. Raised our kids here. Went to school here. We live here. We are the home team.
And we're back with head coach Matt Mitchell. I'm Steve Lloyd-Jones. By the way, DJ Foster not with us tonight. He's calling basketball games for the Lakers. They're at home as well. So no DJ for this week. But we continue on with the show and going to talk about the opponent breakdown segment now. Ferris State, of course, the opponent, 1 o'clock, the kickoff at Lubbers Stadium Saturday. And the opponent breakdown brought to you by Kent Equipment, solutions that turn work into play. The Bulldogs' second time this year. Mitch, I know you probably heard this 100 times, how this mirrors last year where you guys go to their place. They're the ones who have the undefeated season are ready to go, and you spoil that for them. Have you guys as a team talked about that? Have you brought up the situation at all? How have you approached it?
There we go. No, we haven't talked about 2015 one time, and be honest with you, we barely referenced 2016. I think the first team meeting we had about the game, I tried to frame it from this standpoint. We're 1 of 8, and we have to try to find everything we can do here to be 1 of 4. And it just so happens the opponent that we're playing in this situation is somewhat familiar to us. It's Ferris State. This will be the 4th time that we've played them in the last 2 years. But the 15 team is different than the 16 team, and I would even make an argument that things are different on both sides of the coin, both Ferris State and Grand Valley State. From 2 months ago is when we played them. It's been 8 weeks, and they've changed. We don't. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about it. There's some changes with their personnel. There's some changes with our personnel. We've evolved as a football team since that game, and they've evolved at the same thing too. So. You get into the motivations of playing the game. I don't know that you want to sit there and talk about, well, they're going to have an intrinsic motivator to beat you because you beat them in the regular season. We both want to win because we both want to play the following Saturday. I mean, that should be the number one motivator. It's not about Ferris versus GV, the Anchor Bone Trophy, the intense rivalry between everyone at both institutions. It has more to do with the fact that if we don't play well, we're turning in our equipment and on the following Monday. So that's where the motivation starts with, and then you start digging into the details and what do we have to do here offensively, defensively, special teams to put us in a good position to play a very good team. And we know that this is a very good team. When you look at our region, hands down, us and Ferris have been the 2 most dominant teams within the playoffs. I mean, the scores and the statistics have not been close. When you look at the Lone Star Conference, the Rocky Mountain Conference, and the GLVC, clearly the GLIAC, the top two teams left playing in this region are from the GLIAC, and there hasn't been really a tight ball game, to be honest with you. So that's where we start to stop the conversation.
All right. Well, as we talk about Ferris right now, we go back to October 8th when the Lakers beat them at Lubbers Stadium 35-23. Ferris has not lost since that point. But we do have to point out they've only played one road game since October 8th. That was at Hillsdale. So they are red hot, playing well. But right now, they kind of have a two-quarterback situation going here, where Reggie Bell, who had started for most of the year, had some injury issues, and senior Trevor Birmingham has come in and he's lighting it up.
He's done a great job running their offense. Obviously, he's a senior, so he's been around the block. He served as the understudy to Jason Vanderlaan, who was a very productive quarterback that we faced as a four-year starter. So he knows their offense, in and out. I'm sure we don't know who is going to play or why, but Reggie did not play the last regular season game against Saginaw Valley State. Rumors of a potential injury prior to that, but then he came back and played a couple series in the first-round playoff game against Midwestern State, and it's clear to see on tape that probably something happened there with an injury. And we had some of we were watching a live stream on one of their web broadcasts, and they were talking about it. And Trevor came in and did a great job. He really ripped him in the run game against Midwestern State. And then last week, Colorado School of Mines came in, and they really packed the box. They did not want to let Trevor Birmingham get going, and he really took to the air and defeated Mines in the air. Shakir Sanders, one of their senior receivers, had over 200 yards of receiving, and he handled that really well. So I think they feel confident about Trevor being able to play. Again, I don't know the injury status of Reggie Bell, or maybe it doesn't matter if he's injured. Maybe they're going to stick with Trevor Birmingham. We don't know. We've seen both players on tape. The offense doesn't change a lot. There's little subtleties about how the offense is operated based on who's at the quarterback position. So we're going to have to handle that with our defensive staff and defensive players once we settle into the game on Saturday.
Yeah, it's tough asking these questions because you don't want to get too much into strategy. But what are you noticing on film differences from Ferris in October to now?
Well, I think on the offensive side of the ball, the biggest thing Trevor's done a great job of is that. Two things. He's been very good with the football. There's not a lot of turnovers. He doesn't make a lot of indecisive plays. He's very calculated with the ball. And then he's really tough as a running threat down inside the 10. The red zone offense, the first month of the season was not one of the best red zone offenses, and now they've really improved their statistics when it comes to red zone scoring. And I think a lot of it has to do with Birmingham being a really good, legitimate running threat between the tackles down inside the 10-yard line. So that's changed. On the defensive side of the ball, they're rotating some players early on, and they've kind of settled into, a little bit more full-time starters, especially in the back end of their defense. And at one of their outside linebacker positions, they're rotating. They're not anymore. One of their safety positions, they're rotating. They're not anymore. So I think they've obviously rotated some guys, get some experiences, probably enough on tape to give the nod to a couple individuals who are probably playing a little bit better, and those are the guys that we're going to, stick with the rest of the way out. But from a scheme standpoint, I don't think things have really changed. They have confidence in their offensive scheme, and they have confidence in their defensive scheme, and they've really, stuck with it. As you mentioned, they started off the season, and then since our game where they lost, they've been on a really, really hot run, and they've scored a lot of points, and really not a close game. Their first 4 or 5 games were really tight games, a couple losses, but since then it's not even been competitive. They've been able to pretty much blow everybody out.
So Ferris comes here on a roll. Saturday, 1 o'clock, the kickoff. It's the battle for the Anchor Bone Trophy, but much more importantly, the national quarterfinal as the Bulldogs here for the second time this year. That's your opponent breakdown. After the break, we're going to look at the keys to the game. What does Matt Mitchell think is going to be essential for victory? We'll find out next on the GVSU Football Weekly Report here on the Grand Valley Sports Network.
We were born here. We grew up here. Raised our kids here. Went to school here. We live here. We are the home team.
Welcome back once again, everyone, inside the Main Street Pub here in Allendale. Show presented by GVSUTeamShop.com. Authentic liquor apparel for every game. Grand Valley into the Elite Eight, the national quarterfinal this Saturday, 1 o'clock kick against Ferris State. Our coverage on the pregame gets started across the network at noon. Time now for the keys to the game, presented by Fox Motors, only the best. Matt Mitchell, as you see it here, how do you list them?
Well, I think you got to first of all take a look at the the quarterback matchup and whoever plays for them, and Bart Williams, the number of sacks or pressures or disruptions. I think that'll be really key. I think it's important for us to try to protect Bart, and we've got to get back there and we've got to finish. I mean, it's obviously a lot of people talk about it being an option-based offense, but there's going to be a certain number of times we're going to get them into some passing situations, and we've got to be able to get some pressure and finish on their quarterback. They have some really good receivers. But we can negate some of that with pressure on the quarterback. So I think that's a big key. You'll be able to feel that in the press box when you're calling the game, Steve, like which quarterback is under more duress here in the pass game. And I think this is going to come down to a game of, we're going to be some one-on-one matchups. Our corners against their two outside wide receivers. We've got to make some plays, and our wide receivers against some of their guys in the secondary got to make some plays. And so when you start seeing there are not going to be any guys running wide open on the game Saturday. I just don't think that's realistic given the competency of both teams. There's going to be some one-on-ones. There's going to be a Grand Valley guy, there's going to be a Ferris guy, and there's going to be a ball in the air. And which team is going to make more of those plays? And whether it doesn't matter what receivers we're talking about, there's going to be a DB plastered all over them. And then our DB is going to make more plays, and our wide receivers are going to make more plays than our DBs. And then I think when you take a look at them and us, the turnovers are huge. Then that's every football game. You've heard me talk a lot about that. But, when they struggled early on in the year, they were giving away the football, and they had some issues, including our game, had some turnovers in our game. And when we've turned the ball over, we've struggled too, obviously. So ball security with our skill guys, and then our quarterback making great decisions. And we talked about it earlier in the show. We can't be forcing footballs or doing things that are out of character. It's okay if it doesn't work out well. We can still punt, play defense, and don't feel like we have to make every single play. Just let the plays that come to us a little bit. So those would be big things. Harassment of the quarterback, the one-on-one matchups outside, and then, the turnovers. And we've been really good with our turnovers here at the end of the season. We've done a good job with ball security. Our backs and our wideouts can't put the ball on the ground. I'll be talking about that a lot in the team meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, one of the things I'm encouraged with, too, going into this is thinking back to that first matchup in October. Yeah, you didn't really have DJ Hogan in that game. Trey Walton was out. Garrett Fournier was out. You lost David Talley in the second half. I mean, that's 4 defensive starters against a very good offense.
Yeah, and those guys are excited to play. DJ Hogan is in his senior year. He didn't get the opportunity to play him in the regular season game. Obviously, Garrett had a really big game against him in the playoff game last year. Garrett Pune is a sophomore now. He missed that game, and he's a super competitive kid and wants to play. Trey Walton being out, I think that hurt us in the first game. We had Kalen Dunham playing in a big game like that against good receivers. So having Trey's a little bit more of a steady Eddie, his experience, his savvy as an upperclassman, I think hopefully will pay dividends. And then we were banged up a little bit at some of the linebacker spots. So that doesn't mean that we're going to be better, we're going to win the game. But I do know, being around those players this week, they're very motivated. This is a big game for them, just, again, for all the reasons. But they didn't get to play the first time around, and they want to get out there and play. I would also make a side note, too, Steve. I think Bart Williams is excited to play this game because I don't think he felt he played his best game in the first round, too. He threw 3 picks, missed some guys here and there. He's extremely motivated right now, and you can just kind of tell that in the preparation, that he has a unique opportunity to kind of atone for, playing Ferris first time around. Didn't exactly make a lot of plays, and hopefully lead our team here to be 1 of 8 and try to be, 1 of 4 at the end of Saturday night.
So I'm sensing a lot of motivation.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of motivation just from the standpoint, like I said, this is a team that has had high internal expectations, both coaches and players, since we got together back in January. And this is a great opportunity here to win a regional championship. And they're going to, reseed the finals. And one of the two GLIAC teams is going to be in the semifinal. I think that's very unique. And I think our guys, they want to be that team. They want to be the team that's representing our league and our region as we move on to the next round of the playoffs.
Coach, coming up next, players segment.
And we're going to bring in Joe Robbins. Joe had been on the show a little bit earlier, but I think as we start getting into the playoffs here, a unique opportunity to kind of bring a player in, and you hear the coach's perspective all the time, but kind of his perspective on our 2016 season, both the GLIAC championship and as we move into the playoffs too. Yeah,
and this big rivalry game here with Ferris on Saturday. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff here at Lubbers Stadium. We'll be back after this break. You're listening to the GVSU Football Weekly Report with head coach Matt Mitchell. The GVSU Football Drive to the Championship is presented by Evolve Student Living. Evolve with us on the Grand Valley Sports Network.
We were born here. We grew up here. Raised our kids here. Went to school here. We live here. We are the home team.
And the Lakers, as we welcome you back inside the Main Street Pub in Allendale, the win Saturday over Texas A&M Commerce, 55-32. Garrett Pugnier led the defense with 10 tackles and one of those interceptions. Another pick for Dante Carey in that game. But right now we want to bring in Joe Robbins, senior wideout, our player interview for you. It's brought to you by Country Dairy, the official milk of GVSU athletics. Let's turn things over to Matt Mitchell.
Well, instead of focusing on Joe a little bit more, we're going to focus on the players in our program in general, and Joe will be the voice of them as we kind of talk. So get off to a fast start in 2016, really beat Tiffin and kind of rolling there for a little bit. And then get to the Saginaw game. Got a conference championship on the line. Just had a wild game, a double overtime game with Saginaw Valley. Came out victorious. What does it mean as a senior, and maybe for a team in general, to have won the outright GLIAC conference championship? How does that feel?
I mean, that's big time. I mean, I've never done that since I've been here. So that what an honor of doing that with the people that we have on our team and the coaches that coach us. And I don't know, rolling into that game, I didn't play. That was the first game I've never played my whole career here. So really change of pace there for me. So. Rolling into that game with the stakes that we had on there, I mean, we still had Wayne to play. We could still get an outright. But rolling into that game and not being able to play, I still had a lot of confidence in the players that we had on our team, and that could get it done. And ended up winning that in the locker room. That feeling in the locker room, getting that outright and seeing that trophy in there for the first time. And I don't know. It's just great. I had great confidence in everybody in that locker room that we could get that done, and we did. And what a great feeling that was.
Yeah, so then we go to Wayne State, obviously, finish up an undefeated season of 45 years of Grand Valley football, and the 8th undefeated season in the history of GV football. And everybody knows after the game, and that was a tight game too, that we're going to be the number 1 seed. And you get on the bus knowing that you're going to be the number 1 seed, probably have a bye week coming up. Just talk about that from a player perspective, looking ahead to a bye week and kind of new territory, and what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, another first for me from being here, having a bye week. And as a player, that was big just due to recovery. I mean, we had some guys go down in that Saginaw game and in the Wayne game, and I still wasn't playing that week either. So just to have that time to rest and everybody recuperate and kind of gain our ground again of where we are and just kind of get our feet from under, get them back underneath us, and kind of look at what we needed to work on throughout the week too. I mean, that's kind of what our focus was, and that was interesting to do that. It kind of felt like camp again. We had kind of a camp set up, and I think that was huge. Us looking at what we can improve on, rolling in the playoffs, and I think that paid dividends and and showed in our victory last Saturday.
So on that Saturday, we weren't playing. We were watching the scoreboard a little bit and taking a look at Texas A&M Commerce. They were playing Colorado Mesa at that time and ended up becoming victorious. And then you guys roll in, and we start getting on some tape. And you've been a senior in this program, a fifth-year senior. You know Hillsdale. You know Saginaw. You know all the schools in our league. First time playing Texas A&M Commerce. What was that like from a player standpoint? Never having seen him at all, knew nothing about him. Pop on the tape and start watching it in that process. Just take us a little through that.
Yeah, I mean that's a fun process too. I've played in games in the past year that we played like Texas A&M a couple years ago in the playoffs, was it West Texas A&M?
West Texas A&M.
Oh, not Texas A&M. Playing them, and we us playing teams that you've never played before, and that's fun. You pop on a film of like Ferris or the Hillsdales and the Saginaws, and you kind of have an idea of what you're going to see and what to expect. But when you pop on that tape and you just kind of see the different kind of players from the different parts of the country and the different kind of. With Commerce, you see a ton of cover two, and then you're practicing that, which you don't see in the GLIAC that much. So it's just like a different flavor. It's just it was a good change of pace and way more fun. And then we end up playing the game, and there's a lot more cover one high than we thought. So then you adjust to that too. So that's what we've been running the majority of the season. So looking at a new opponent like that, it was fun. Just a change of pace. So.
And then we obviously get in off of that game, and you find out that you got Ferris State again in the playoffs for the regional final. And you don't have to use, what I say. You can get off script to be honest. But honestly, as a player, like you find out we got Ferris for the regional final. What's your thoughts? What are the emotions?
Yeah, let's go. That's just adding fuel to the fire. There's a ton of motivation to begin with. Elite Eight and playing another get your way to be one of four. But then it's Ferris and it's at home and. The rivalry and blah blah blah, but it's just that much better, to play those guys, and we're rolling here, so hopefully we can just keep it going against them, and I don't know, just have fun with it.
Good, and then obviously we've got the game coming up here at Saturday with the home crowd. Last week, probably a little more difficult given the fact we had Thanksgiving. You had the Michigan-Ohio State game was on at noon and some high school football playoffs, but. When you look across the landscape of college football, Western plays on Friday night, but other than that, there's really no other game here in the state of Michigan on Saturday, kind of the premier matchup, and anticipate a big crowd. What is that like? What is it coming out in Lubbers here playing a win or go home against Ferris State, and then sitting here in December still playing football? Just talk about what your emotions are going to be taking the field.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. Me being a senior, that could be the last time, I do that, but that's not the focus. And, I will never – experience that again. If whatever we win, and then the chance of getting a home game or whatever, and maybe have one more Lubbers leap. But it's just a feeling that you don't get. I don't think I'll ever get beyond this year. And so embracing that and running out in front of thousands of people and playing in front of them, and it's been like an honor of playing in front of that many people as long as I have, just going into the fifth year, and it's just all fun. It's just I'm grateful for being able to do it for as long as I have, and I'm gonna miss it, but we're not done, and we keep rolling, and there's nothing like it.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you coming on, and good luck on Saturday. Back to Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Great to have you as well. Into a timeout now. When we come back, a look around at the other games going on in Division II in the playoffs. And we'll talk about, going to ask Coach about what the weekend schedule is like, trying to get ready for this game. That's straight ahead of the GVSU Football Weekly Report here on the Grand Valley Sports Network.
We were born here. We grew up here. Raised our kids here. went to school here. We live here. We are the home team.
And back one final time inside the Main Street Pub here in Allendale. Grand Valley off the win last weekend. We'll host the Ferris State Bulldogs 1 o'clock kickoff this Saturday. And pregame coverage starting at noon across the network lines. Well, as we get into our final segment of the show, we're going to look at the around the games around Division II, national landscape for you. This segment presented by Modern Office, bringing spaces to life. So, Matt, as we look around, at Division II and some of the other games, not that I'm asking you to pick these, but just maybe a comment or two of what jumps out at you. Cal PA will take on Shepherd. Know all about Shepherd from last year. North Alabama and North Greenville will play each other. Northwest Missouri State will play Harding, and, of course, Grand Valley playing Ferris State. Those are your 8 remaining teams.
Yeah, the Cal PA Shepherd would be a great matchup. Shepherd, we're obviously familiar with them, and their quarterback is back. The wideout that we struggle with a little bit, he's back. But Cal PA is putting up some really ridiculous numbers. They ran through the PSAC with really nobody contesting them. Has done well here in the playoffs. So that'll be a great game. Don't know much about others other than I would assume Northwest is, probably a favorite against Harding. And you'd also have to, say that probably North Alabama is a favorite against North Greenville. But it's hard for me to predict just because we haven't really seen them on tape. Don't know a whole lot about them. But certainly when you look at the matchups of those, this would be the Grand Valley Ferris State matchup is the only matchup of the 1-2 seeds and is also the only matchup of, the 2 schools from the same conference going at it.
That's right. Certainly looks good for the GLIAC when you have, 25% of the Elite 8 at the end of the year. Well, tell us about, I guess regular season and playoffs might be different, but just like how you guys go through this weekend. Friday night, I know some schools, maybe it's a hotel where you get the guys together, and then how do you go through Friday night and Saturday into game time?
We don't go to a hotel. We have our normal Friday afternoon. We'll do a walkthrough and some meetings and then feed our guys, and then they get cut loose. I don't know. I feel like a little bit that hotel thing is kind of a waste of money. They've got beds that they're paying for here in the greater Allendale area, so go sleep in them. And, I think we have a team. It's a mature team. It's a focused team. I don't know that you have to hole them up in a hotel and somehow think that they're going to be more focused than if they didn't. So we let those guys, go free on Friday. And then we've been doing something this year, which a lot of people think it's probably the first time we've ever talked about it or think we're absolutely crazy, but 8 a.m. we do lifting at 8 a.m. on the day of the game. And we've done that for every home game. And road games, we do kind of a hybrid of it. But we'll do 5 sets of squats the day of the game. And we kind of got that from some different research, things like that. What we're trying to do is we get the guys up at 8 a.m. and do squats. We're trying to excite their central nervous system. And we get a lot of energy and juice. Our guys have really grabbed a hold of that and are running with that. And I think they believe in it now. This is a good way to start their day. There will be, like I said, some people I would say saying, "What, you heavy squat the day before a game?" And yeah, we do. And then after that, we have a special teams meeting. I really go over all the special teams. We go have a pregame meal. It's actually here at Main Street Pub. We do. They're very good to us. They know what we like and how much food we need. And then we have chapel after that, a voluntary chapel for everyone who wants to attend. And the players have a little bit of time off. We have a Laker walk at 11, and then we go down and do the pregame warm-up, stuff like that. So from a coaching staff standpoint, we're there for the lifting, we're there for the pregame meal and stuff, and then it's the hurry up and wait segment of the day. So that's probably the toughest part. On most home games, we have recruiting. With the NCAA playoff games, we're not allowed to give comp tickets, so we don't have recruits up on the day of the game. But we get done with that pregame meal at about 9:30, and you're sitting around until warm-ups at about noon. And kind of checking over things, making everything sure ready to go. But that's probably the longest part of the day, to be honest with you, is that little span right there before it's time to take the field for warm-ups.
Is that easier, though, than a regular season where you got to wait till 7 o'clock at night on a home game?
Yeah, probably a little bit better. I would agree. Kind of get up and get moving in the morning. The good thing about the 7 p.m. game is that you do get to hang out a little bit with your family in the morning. And then we do have a lot of recruits. So those days tend to go faster just because we have a lot of recruits that come to our games. We try to get as many of our recruits possible to our home games, obviously, because of our atmosphere and our scoreboard. They get to see it. So we stay pretty busy on a regular season home game with recruiting. Here it's just kind of sitting around looking at each other as a coaching staff, and we go down, we take the field, and get ready to go.
Now, in these games, it's interesting how, with the way the NCAA sets them up, it takes away a little bit of the home field advantage, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, we could have an hour-long segment on that, Steve. I don't understand it. You've won the right to host a home field game. Why can't you have some of the stuff that you're used to, i.e., fireworks after you score, your own stuff on a video board? Why can't we have some of the things we're used to at home? And then I also think something else that's really ridiculous is they only allow us to dress 58 players. Like, I get within the conference why we're on the road from a budgetary standpoint, driving 58, but we're at home. Why, and you just want to say, hey, you only dress 58 players, that's fine. Why do all my guys that are not dressed, and we have 110 guys on the team, why do they have to go in the stands and watch the game in the stands? Why can't they be on the sideline? Why can't those guys, they're not in uniform, I get that. If only 58 guys in uniform, that's equitable to both teams. Have those guys down the sideline be a part of their team. I don't get that. I think it's stupid. I don't understand that at all. So that's the soapbox segment of the day.
Well, and I can't explain it either, that's for sure. Hey, before we wrap things up, we want to thank one of our fine sponsors, Allendale True Value. Behind every project is a true value. And the Lakers against Ferris State coming up this Saturday, 1 o'clock kickoff. And Mitch, we're all looking forward to that. I know you guys as coaches, this is what you work for, these kind of moments.
100%. This team's been through a lot. Starting back in January, everything they've done, and we've had some things happen along the way, but, man, we've stuck together, and I'm really excited to take the field with the rest of these guys, coaches and players, and find ourselves, 1 of 8 and hopefully try to be 1 of 4 at the end of the night.
Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Our thanks to offensive coordinator Tim Morrison and Joe Robbins for their time. For Matt Mitchell, I'm Steve Lloyd-Jones. Thanks for listening to the show tonight. Remember, 1 o'clock kickoff on the network in Lubbers Stadium on Saturday against Ferris State. That'll do it for us tonight on the Grand Valley Sports Network.